MRO operators, to include naval MRO operators, face enormous challenges today. They must invest in modernizing facilities, which are huge for naval MRO if you've never been to a shipyard or a dry dock or something, processes, hardware, and software. And they have to do all this while remaining efficient and protecting profit margins. Naval MRO, so think dry docks, shipyards, they face pressure to quickly process ships, right? Large, complex, costly assets like a nuclear submarine. And they must meet very extensive government or, DoD requirements, defense requirements, and they have to do all this without compromising efficiency, profits, or, of course, mission success.
The public shipyards in the US, we're still using the same shipyards that were established back in between 1940s and 1960s. And they have not been updated or modernized fast enough to be able to accommodate today's ships and their systems. To rectify this, the US government has started this initiative called the Shipyard Infrastructure Optimization Program, or the SIOP. And this initiative was launched back in 2018, and it is a 2-decade-long, multi-billion-dollar effort to modernize these very infrastructures.
It just blows me away that we need 20,000 plus additional skilled workers. So that's a lot of good jobs for the people who, want to become welders or, carpenters, or all the different skill sets that are required in these naval shipyards. And I read the GAO report, and what struck me was that a lot of ship captains and their crew are in some cases like going out in town and buying spare parts, that will work. Obviously, it wouldn't be major pieces of hardware, but some types of hardware, I guess.
If we were to look at some best practices happening globally, then when you look at countries like India, South Korea, and Japan, these are some of the commercial leaders, as well as defense leaders in the maritime MRO field. And what these countries have done is this, really evolved private-public partnerships, or PPPs, in a way that a shipyard not just caters to the military side of MRO, but also the commercial side of MRO. And this executive order is it's basically going to enable something similar in the United States.
Obviously, naval MRO is broken and it does need to be fixed. The old saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But in this case, it seems like U.S. naval MRO is broken and it does need to be fixed. So MOSA makes sense, right? That there's not vendor lock-in, and you'll allow non-traditional players to come in and that kind of thing. But I can see from like Lockheed Martin or BAE Systems or Northrop Grumman's perspective, they're probably like, yeah, we're not a big fan of this, but we don't have any choice.
Basically, augmented reality, virtual reality, they create these immersive environments in which these workforces, these work personnel are able to get a lot of immersive training done. So we're talking about trainings on some of the most high-risk environments, but conducting those trainings within a strong and controlled environment. So by the time personnel is supposed to carry out these maintenance tasks in real life, they already have the confidence as well as the step-by-step knowledge of what needs to be done. And that frees up, first of all, it creates workers' confidence. It reduces a lot of human error that may arise during MRO processes, and it shortens the time required to build any kind of proficiency. So this in turn also helps with ensuring that the limited workforce that the US Navy has at the present is still qualified enough to not really feel this need or this disadvantage of not really having a wider and a bigger workforce.
every ship, pretty much somewhere on that ship, they need to have their own 3D printing shop, that can
Mhm.
make a metal part with the designs that are stored on software. They could easily, somewhere on the ship and on the hard drive of the ship, if you will, store designs for every single part that's on that ship, because it's just zeros and ones, right? So they could store those designs. And then if they need a bolt, a nut, or whatever, and they're 100,000 miles from shore or whatever, they can have that 3D printer crank out that.
The Indo-Pacific maritime conflict is quite volatile. There is a lot of growing presence of China, and there are a lot of alliances forming within the Indo-Pacific region, not just because of border encroachments, but also because of valuable, critical minerals and components and elements that are available within the in the maritime sphere of the Indo-Pacific. So maritime domain awareness is a big priority for US and its alliances and its allies in the Indo-Pacific region.